Good evening, everybody. Tonight, I'd like to review the movie Forbidden Planet. Tonight's review is on the movie Forbidden Planet. And as most serious science fiction fans know, Forbidden Planet is the movie that changed science fiction for the better. And so you're probably wondering, why am I reviewing Forbidden Planet now? Well, the fact is, I got to see it last night in an actual movie theater. And if you've never seen it in the movie theaters, I highly recommend that you go. There's a lot of classic movie theaters that show these types of things. And for example, I went to this movie theater. There's a few of them around the country called the Angelika, and that's with a K, Angelika. Now, there's some. I went to the one here in Virginia, but there's one in D.C., New York, Dallas, Texas, I believe, and I think there's one in Los Angeles. I don't know of any others, but those are the ones that I know of. And there's probably other classic theaters that show this type of film. So, as I say, if you can, go see it in the theaters because it's just so much better. It's just such an incredible experience. So, Forbidden Planet is something of a retelling of Shakespeare's The Tempest. And it was directed by Fred Wilcox. It came out in 1956. It starred several high profile individuals, including Walter Pidgeon, Leslie Nielsen before he became a comedic actor, Anne Francis, and you may recognize other people like Richard Anderson from Six Million Dollar Man, Earl Holliman from the Angie Dickinson policewoman, and Warren Stevens from one episode of Star Trek. That episode is By Any Other Name. And so there's several people that you'll recognize who are starring in this movie, and it's just it's so well acted, and you get the acting experience from DVD, but you really miss a lot of things when you watch it on DVD that I want to talk about in particular. So the first thing that really impressed me was the matte painting and the model. The matte painting is clearly, it's a practical effect where they paint a background image, and this is what we're seeing here is the background image and the model work. Now, that is so indistinguishable where the model starts and where the matte painting starts that I was blown away. I was looking at it in detail. You get this nice long shot of this starship landing on the planet. And so you can really look at that in detail and just try to figure out where the model ends and the matte painting begins. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't see where it ended and began. So that is just simply amazing to me. So the second thing that really impressed me about this was the physical set that was used for the starship. when I watch it on DVD, I always got this sense of scale that it was always kind of too small for the number of people who were the crew. But when I saw it finally in the movie theaters, it's massive. It is so huge that it seems obvious that you could have this crew on board and easily fit everybody on board. So I was really impressed with the size of the set for the starship itself. So the next thing is, you see all these little details that you don't see otherwise. So the starship, you can kind of see it here in the picture, where there's these little focused light beams that are coming down from the ship, and they stand out so much better in the movie theater. They're really sharp and clean, and again, it's just an incredible effect. Of course, we all know that it was a painted on effect because that's how they did it back in the day. And some of the painted on effects are, they're obviously cartoons, but even so, it looks just amazing to see this, the spaceship landing especially, and some of the others. I particularly like the blaster and the disintegration of the tiger. So even though it's a cartoon, it's painted on, you can see that it is, it's still an impressive effect. So the next thing that really caught my attention about this was the when they were unshipping the drive, right? They had to, so they go to this planet. You all know the story. And because he doesn't have specific orders, the captain has to basically cannibalize most of the ship so that he can build this Klystron transmitter. And you can see in the theater that you don't see elsewhere is the housing for the main drive actually has some real nice detail to it, and it's coming out of the central pyre that's holding the ship up. It lands on this kind of mushroom pyre, and then that's where the drive section is, and you can see some incredible details that I never noticed before. Probably because the drive itself doesn't look all that impressive. To me, it looks kind of, that's kind of one of the effects that I don't like about it. But the actual housing that it comes out of is kind of really impressive. So I think that is something that, again, you kind of lose that when you're watching it on DVD. The other thing about this movie that you see, or that I see is particularly, is they've cannibalized almost the entire ship, right? There's a planetary force. They're trying to defend themselves from this planetary force that they have unshipped the actual main weaponry from the ship itself, and now it's sitting on the ground. And something you don't catch, at least I don't, is the kind of antenna-like things in the corners of the guns. They actually move. And to me, that's one of those little details, and it really kind of makes the ship seem even more impressive, because they didn't have to make those things move. The firing mechanism doesn't have to move, right? Because it's just a science fiction movie, and the effect that they paint on for the firing of these energy weapons is just a cartoon. Of course, we also get to see Robbie. And Robbie has these little lights that I never noticed again until I saw it last night in the movie theater. So I just wanted to point that out as well. They're on the sides of the dome where the two antennae come out, and they flash back and forth. They kind of look like eyes, which honestly to me it was a little bit distracting at first that I saw those two lights all of a sudden flashing back and forth. But I quickly forgot about it and just enjoyed the movie, and I enjoyed it immensely. So those are kind of the things that I noticed about this movie that I had noticed before, at least visually, right? There's also some dialogue that you can hear better. Little things like the guys in the background. There's chatter in the background, and that kind of makes this movie feel more lived in as well. So those sorts of little things, those sorts of little details, just make this movie that much better. Uh, I you guys know I served in the military. I served in the Navy, and that sort of thing. I served on the bridge, on navigating the ship, and that sort of thing happens. You have that background chatter, and that's something else that Star Trek, the original series, does really well. Is you have that background chatter that makes the ship feel more realistic, and it's just something that you notice, and especially if you've served in the Navy, on the bridge, you notice that happens, and that just makes it feel more realistic to me. So I wanted to point that out. And also the little conversations that are going on. There's actual conversations. It's not just people saying random words. It's literally things that you don't hear unless you watch it in the theater. At least, again, I don't hear it. So it just makes this movie that much more impressive to see it in the movie theater. So this movie theater that I obviously, like I said, it's a classic theater. They show classic movies, but they also show modern day movies. Uh, Currently, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is showing, and they have that as well. So it's a bit of both. So I just wanted to give you my first impressions of seeing this thing in the theater. Uh, Again, I highly recommend that you go see this thing, and if you can obviously go see it in the theater. Um, Now maybe if you have a really large screen TV and you have a really good surround sound system, you get most of it as well. But even so, I have to say, it's an experience seeing a movie in a theater. And one of the other things that I really noticed is the audience partaking of the partaking of the movie, and there were people my age. There were people who were middle aged, with their young children who were introducing their children to this movie. And there were two guys sitting on to my left who were in their 20s, and there were a couple to my right who were closer to my age, probably about 10, maybe 15 years younger than I was. And we all just loved it. And quite honestly, this is one of these movies where Hollywood should revisit. And honest to God, I think you could make a series out of this, Hollywood, if you really wanted a science fiction property to sort of work from. This is an established property, and it has a built-in audience. Like I say, there were children as young as like probably 3 or 4 years old with their parents, and they were they were enraptured with this movie, as well as their parents, as well as I was, as well as the two guys who were sitting next to me who were in their 20s. So this should be something that is revisited. And so I think that's pretty much the end of my thoughts. I know I've been rambling a little bit here, but I wanted to, like I say, I wanted to give you guys my first impressions. And if you like this kind of content, if you like what I'm doing here, please hit the like and subscribe buttons and hit that notification bell and share this out to your friends and family and watch some of my other videos. I really appreciate everybody who has subscribed to me already. And I really appreciate the feedback that I get with the comments. So again, please like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, and I really appreciate it. And everybody, I wish you a good evening, and if you're in the U.S., have a happy Thanksgiving, and be careful if you're traveling. We don't want we don't want anybody having any accidents out there. So have a great evening. Thank you.